I assumed she'd been stung by a bee. Her face was swollen, and she kept pawing at it like she was in pain. But when the vet pulled up the CT scan, she went pale. "Oh my God," she muttered. What they discovered was disturbing, and clearly no accident. But before we start our story, smash the like button, make sure to subscribe and hit the notifications bell so you won't miss any new stories. I couldn't stop thinking about Penny's swollen face and her constant pawing at it since yesterday. She looked so uncomfortable, and there was a hint of sadness in her big eyes. Lying next to her on the couch, I could feel how restless she was. Watching her suffer without knowing how to help was really hard for me. I had a gut feeling that it was more than just a bee sting. After a long and restless night, I knew I couldn't wait any longer. Penny needed to see a vet. Her face wasn't getting any better, and she seemed more anxious. So, early in the morning, I packed Penny into her carrier and drove to the veterinarian's office. The waiting room was crowded with pets and their owners, and Penny was visibly anxious. Her eyes darted around the room, and she snuggled closer to me whenever someone or something got too close. I just wanted to know what was wrong. As we waited for our turn, I focused on keeping Penny calm. She nestled deeper into my lap, and I continued to talk softly, trying to soothe her. I would do anything to ease her stress and reassure her that she was safe. Finally, it was our turn to see Dr. Miller. I carefully explained Penny's symptoms, my voice a mixture of anxiety and hope. Her face just started swelling, and she's been pawing at it nonstop. "She seems really uncomfortable," I said, glancing at Penny. Dr. Miller nodded, jotting down notes as I spoke. She listened intently, and I hoped she could help us figure out what was really going on with Penny. Dr. Miller began her examination, her expression serious as she checked Penny thoroughly. I watched the furrowing of her brow deepen with each observation. Her hands moved gently but with precision over Penny's small frame, inspecting every inch. She murmured, more to herself than to me. I held my breath, hoping she would have answers. It was clear this wasn't a simple case, and that made me even more concerned. "I'd like to do a CT scan," Dr. Miller suggested, looking directly at me. Her tone was calm but firm, making my heart race. The word "scan" made everything feel more serious than I had been prepared for. "Is it really necessary?" I asked, trying not to let my fear show. "We need to be sure what we're dealing with," she replied, and I nodded, trusting her expertise as we agreed to move forward. As we waited for the scan results, my mind raced. Penny lay on a blanket beside me, resting, probably tired from all the fuss. I glanced at the door each time it opened, hoping it would be Dr. Miller with good news about Penny. At that moment, I hoped we'd leave the vet's office with answers and Penny's healing journey. Finally, Dr. Miller called me in to discuss the CT scan results. I hurried back, trying to brace myself for whatever she was about to reveal. As I entered her office, I couldn't help but notice how serious she looked. The air felt thick with anticipation as I took a seat, eager but nervous to hear what she had to say. Dr. Miller had a puzzled and slightly alarmed look on her face when I re-entered. It wasn't what I'd expected to see. She nodded briefly as I sat down, her eyes scanning the CT results laid out in front of her. "There's something odd about this," she said, pointing at the images. My heart jumped a little, and I leaned closer, trying to see what had caught her attention so intensely. She showed me the CT scan, pointing at the unusual patterns she had observed. The images displayed strange, irregular marks that didn't look like anything I'd seen before. "These aren't typical for a bee sting," Dr. Miller explained, tapping her pen on the light table. I squinted at the picture, not really understanding, but her expression told me enough. My worry for Penny intensified as I tried to grasp what was going on. Her expression turned serious, and I knew something wasn't right with Penny's case. "This isn't a simple insect sting," she said, her voice low but firm. The room felt suddenly smaller, the air heavier with concern. I swallowed hard, trying to keep my composure as the reality of the situation sank in. Penny lay quietly beside me, oblivious to our concerns, but I could feel my protectiveness for her growing stronger. I felt my heart sinking as Dr. Miller asked me questions about Penny's recent activities. "Has she been anywhere unusual lately?" she asked, writing notes as she spoke. I racked my brain trying to think of anything that might help. "We've mostly been around the house," I replied, desperation creeping into my voice. This line of questioning made everything feel more serious, and I couldn't shake the sense that something was very wrong. Together, we began to piece together any signs I might have missed in the past week. Dr. Miller was patient as she guided me through remembering any small detail. We retraced Penny's steps from the past few days, trying to find any suspicious events. "Let's start with her favorite spots," Dr. Miller suggested. "She's been to the park almost every day," I recalled. Then a particular incident came to mind. Penny had nearly bolted one afternoon. She had been spooked by something. I described to Dr. Miller how she resisted being picked up and tried to hide under a bench, something she'd never done before. "She really tucked herself in there," I explained. "It took me ages to get her out." Dr. Miller took notes, her expression focused. This behavior was unusual and clearly significant. Leaving her office, Penny curled into my arms, slightly more relaxed. I changed our daily routine. Our walks became shorter and more mindful. One afternoon, I noticed unfamiliar people at the Parnu Faces lingering by the benches. They weren't walking dogs or playing with children, just watching. I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Seeking solidarity, I joined a local pet owners group that shared similar concerns. At our first meeting, I recounted Penny's experiences, hoping to uncover more clues. Many nodded in recognition, their own stories adding weight to our growing suspicions. Together, we agreed to stay alert and support one another, creating a network built on mutual vigilance. We organized quickly, exchanging contact information and deciding to monitor the park more closely. We decided to report everything to the authorities. A few of us headed to the local police station, armed with notes and stories. As we presented our findings, skepticism met us at the door. One officer questioned whether we were overreacting. I explained our concerns calmly but firmly, hoping our voices would be heard. Just as we were about to give up, Officer Kelly stepped forward. Her tone was different, serious, and attentive. She promised to investigate further, and for the first time, we felt truly supported. Her willingness to help strengthened our resolve and gave us hope. With the authorities involved, we intensified our efforts. We established shifts to watch the park throughout the day. Our initiative began to inspire others. More neighbors joined the cause, sharing their own experiences and helping expand our reach. Armed with everything we had learned, I brought Penny to another appointment with Dr. Miller. "Other pet owners are noticing strange things," I explained, relaying the latest reports. Dr. Miller listened closely, taking notes and asking detailed questions. For the first time, it felt like we were truly getting somewhere. We had clues, we had support, and we had momentum. Now, it was only a matter of time before the full truth came to light. Dr. Miller looked thoughtful as she reviewed her notes. "I've treated quite a few pets with unusual injuries recently," she admitted. "There's a pattern emerging." Her words confirmed what we had all feared. This wasn't in our imagination. She showed me Penny's previous scans, pointing to irregular damage. "These don't match typical accidents," she explained. A cold wave of dread passed through me. This was our first real clue that something harmful and intentional might be at play. Dr. Miller urged us to proceed with caution and document every detail. Without clear evidence, there was little she could do. One evening, as the sun dipped below the trees, I spotted a shadowy figure lingering at the park's edge. My pulse quickened. I whispered to Penny to stay close and crept closer, phone in hand. The figure moved cautiously, blending into the darkness. I snapped a few blurry photos before they disappeared. Back with the group, I shared the images. "Let's show these to Officer Kelly," Max said. It was time to push harder. At the police station, we presented everything – photos, timelines, and first-hand stories. Officer Kelly's demeanor shifted as she reviewed the materials. "We'll increase patrols in the area," she said. Relief flooded the room. Our efforts were finally being recognized, and even other officers seemed intrigued by the case. With renewed momentum, we reached out to local rescue organizations. Teams like PAWS were eager to help, bringing resources and connections that strengthened our efforts. Wanting to expand our reach, we turned to local media. Media coverage gave our mission new visibility. The story of our small neighborhood standing up for its pets spread quickly, drawing in more support and awareness. Although we hadn't yet uncovered what was behind the incidents, the growing unity in our community was powerful. One morning, Mac waved a newspaper excitedly. A headline about another pet incident caught everyone's attention. It mirrored what had happened to Penny. The story suggested a broader pattern, finally validating our concerns. This was the push we needed. With media coverage spreading fast, our once quiet worries became a public topic. Then came alarming news. Jane shared that strangers had been seen near the park, standing silently and watching. It raised red flags immediately. Linda began connecting the dots, recalling earlier incidents that suddenly made more sense. We realized these weren't isolated events, they were pieces of a larger, unsettling puzzle. I returned to Dr. Miller, asking her to revisit Penny's scan. That's when we found something chilling tiny metallic fragments embedded in Penny's body. This wasn't an accident, Dr. Miller confirmed. The discovery was undeniable proof that someone had intentionally harmed her. The shock rippled through us all. Back at our meeting, emotions ran high. Then, the breakthrough came. Officer Kelly called to inform us arrests had been made. Relief flooded over us. The sense of justice, of progress, was overwhelming. It felt like a battle we had fought for so long was finally being won. Penny's story had sparked a movement. She wasn't just a victim, she became a symbol of resilience and hope. Our neighborhood had changed, not just in response to fear, but in strength and unity. People shared their experiences freely now. Friendships were stronger, trust ran deeper, and a newfound sense of safety settled over our community. "Penny might have saved us all," Jane said one evening. We all nodded. Her pain had led to action, and that action had made all the difference. What began as a quiet suspicion had become a powerful stand for protection and justice. Thanks to Penny, our pets and our people would rest a little easier.